Hello there, my name is Ashely Liliana. I am attempting to live in a new country every year. We will immerse ourselves in food, language, culture, and so much more. So subscribe to my channel and join me as we experience life abroad in Santiago de Chile.
Good morning. Before we even begin, let's just get coffee first. Okay, so it's around 11 a.m. and I'm gonna start making my breakfast. So for breakfast, I'm gonna make some scrambled eggs with some spinach and a bit of avocado on top. I want to show you how to turn on the stove here because I actually did never experience anything like this, and I will admit it did take me quite a few tries to figure out how to turn on the stove. When I lived here the first time, I had one of those like hot plates that was like on top of a table in my first apartment when I lived here. And then my second apartment, it was also electric. So let me show you what I mean. Maybe in the States they have this, I don't know, but it was new to me. First thing is we have to make sure the gas is on. So they leave it like perpendicular, means it's off. So you have to turn it like this, and that means it's ready to go. Then turn the knob first, and then you push it when you hear the sound, and then the gas will come on. There you go. That's how you turn on the stove. I turned it off. It's very particular, this stove. Let's do it again. There we go. So when you lower it down, I just have a problem. I'm gonna add some merken. It's delicious. It makes it spicy. It's like adding kind of pepper flakes to your egg. Almost ready. Hi! Let's not forget. We finished. We have to turn it off. Okay, let's go eat. So Ken just threw up. I'm not gonna show you that because why would you want to see that? First meal, some egg, spinach, and avocado. I'm thinking, I don't really care what you eat, like why are you making this video? I was inspired by this post I actually saw on Facebook. Some creator doing some research, applying to some program for the second country for our second series on this YouTube channel. And someone asked, should I learn how to cook before I move abroad? And I giggled, and he was like, you know, I've eaten and I've survived on takeout and leftovers my whole entire life. Should I learn how to cook? And you know, cooking is like one of those like life skills, right? And I wouldn't say that I was like this great cook before, but I always described it like cooked to survive. What I always think about is, as a vegetarian, like what are the options available for me in that particular country? When you're living abroad, it's very different than just traveling, right? When you travel, you can eat out because you want to like immerse yourself in the culture, the food, and food and culture and traveling all go together, because a lot of culture and a lot of, you know, what day-to-day life is surrounded by this idea of meals and food. You definitely should know how to cook a few meals on your own, but also you're living somewhere long term, and after a while it's just not sustainable to be ordering takeout all the time. It can get really expensive. especially depending on the country that you're living in. And also be prepared to be flexible. Sometimes you're not gonna have like the same equipment that you have at home. Back in the States, like it's a luxury to have like certain things that you don't even think about. My first apartment, like I mentioned, we didn't have like an actual stove. It was just like that hot plate. And I also had no microwave, no oven. So I was limited in what I could make. So you have to get like a little creative. You have to change your diet a little bit when you do move. And depending on the country, even more so. So right now we're gonna finish up breakfast. I will see you again a little later for lunch, and then stick around later because I am going to talk about once. So you probably saw the title of the video and you read that word as once, like once upon a time. Don't worry, I did the same the first time I heard about this and read that word. And once actually translates to 11, like the number 11 in Spanish, but once is a meal of the day here in Chile. So stick around later and I will see you at lunch. It's lunchtime for Kenma too, right? He's making a mess though of his food. Do you like your lunch? Is it yummy? I think that's a yes. Oh no, I spilled. That wasn't as graceful. I spilled it on my hand. I have Jean's famous lentil soup. It has potatoes, lentils, pumpkin, zucchini, carrots. Anything else that I'm missing?
Spinach.
Spinach. Is lunch like the biggest meal of the day, would you say?
Yes.
From my experience living here the first time, when I worked at Duoc and whatnot, everyone like always sat with each other to eat lunch, which is very different because in the United States it's very common for people to sit like at their desk. No, like we have like an area to sit for everyone in the office, but it was just really common to like always eat at your desk and continue working. Like there was never that pause button. And so seeing people eat lunch together, for the first time really, I was just like, wow, like people actually eat and talk to each other. And like they stop working and like they get off the computer and get away from like that area. And
I thought you guys did the same.
I mean, yeah, there's some people that go out, but it's not like a thing where it's all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much more rare occurrence. That was just like an interesting, I guess, like cultural difference in a sense, like in terms of like the word context. That was So we just finished lunch and I will see you a little bit later for once. Finishing work, so let me stay you up a little bit better here. This lighting is like not the best. All right, so it is about 10 to 8 and I'm going to start preparing la once. So kind of translates and how a Chilean might describe it to a foreigner is tea time. Let's get to the kitchen. She's pretty. You made me a tea. Our version of Chilean once. So there's always some sort of bread. This is actually, we're lucky, this is homemade bread from Jean's mom. Avocado, cheese, we have some countryside butter, some sort of deli kind of slices. We don't have any, so this is some salami for Jean. To drink, there's always some sort of tea. There can be coffee. Good. And we also have here some, again, homemade jam. And there's also some sort of sweet stuff usually. So here we also have another homemade cake.
What?
In Spanish, they say queque, which translates to what in English. So, a what? Queque.
The word game.
And yes, it's actually really good. There's some blueberries, there's some nuts inside. So there's always like a mixture of something sweet and something salty. And so that's what we're going to eat today. Okay, we're hungry. Let's begin. So bring some avocado on my bread. And then we're gonna slap on a nice piece of cheese on there. The cheese we're eating is called chanco. I don't really know how to compare it to a cheese in the United States. I don't think you can. It's unique and delicious on its own, but it's quite nice and soft and almost like a creamy kind of feeling to it. It's really good. All right. The first time I lived here, for like the basic kids, we were teaching like the foods and the meals of the day. And I was reading some of the things that the kids were writing, and we were like speaking in class, and like I was reading what they were for an exercise in class. And a bunch of the kids kept writing, my favorite meal of the day is once, but like at the time I didn't read it as that. I wrote it as once because it's still the same thing as like once upon a time. So I kept saying like once, and I was like, what is this once? And like, what? I didn't understand. And so one of the kids, I asked, I was like, what is once? And he's like, once. And I was like, what is once? Like, I don't know what that means. And I learned that it's like tea time, and usually they have a little sandwich, they would say, some sort of cake, some tea. Because I would ask, like, what do you eat for dinner? Like, no dinner. I was like, what do you mean you don't eat dinner? It's like, we have once. And I was like, the teacher is great because you learn like little different things about the culture and stuff like that you wouldn't sometimes get if like you lived kind of on your own somewhere. Dinner is like the main thing where everyone sits around the table and eats, and there's some sort of like carb, protein, and some sort of greens, right, in the States. But once is like the main thing, and you're not having a big thing, you have like these little bits. There can also be tomatoes on the table, right, for once. It's a lighter meal of the day as opposed to lunch. That would be something that's a lot heavier. And bread is like the main component, I think, of once, and then everything else kind of could vary. Another thing that was new to me when I came here, and I was trying to order something, and I was looking at the menu, and there was a word, and the word was palta, and I had no idea what that was, and I was very confused. Palta is avocado, but in other Spanish-speaking countries, we call avocado aguacate. How I've always referred to it my entire life, and then when I came here, I went palta, whole new word. So it's nice actually. Yeah, it's very creamy. It almost has like a cheese-like flavor to it, honestly. But it is butter. Adding some jam, homemade jam. If you watched my video last week, I went to the supermarket, I showed you this. It's cream cheese. But the cream cheese, this one, it has like, I guess it's like infused or made with merquén. And merquén is a spice, and the only way I can relate merquén to anything in the United States would be like pepper flakes, like the pepper flakes you put on pizza or you put on pasta, the red pepper flakes. That's kind of what merquén sort of is. It just kind of gives it that spice.
Is it shaking?
Not right now. No, maybe it did. There's been a lot of shakes, I guess would be the translation in English. Not earthquakes.
Tremors?
Tremors, thank you. There's earthquakes here in Chile. There hasn't been an earthquake per se, but there's been a lot of tremors.
Tremors.
What's the word in Spanish?
Enjambre.
Hambre.
Enjambre.
Enjambre.
So we call them enjambre.
M con I-N?
Oh.
Or E-N. Enjambre or enjambre?
Español, alerta de español.
Basically, the word, I'll put it up or something. The word translates to a swarm. Like a swarm of bees, meaning there's just like a lot of them happening at the same time. And actually in the news, they had like a report about it. And the advice that they give you when you move here, follow the Chileans. Like whatever they do, you have to do. So if they panic, I guess you start panicking. If they run, I guess you start running. So I don't think too much about it, honestly. Like if I feel it, I'm like, ooh, like this is something that's happening. But the news, they had that report. They were talking about the enjambre or emjambre, not sure. And I was like, my kind of like the little voice in my head was like, okay, they're talking about it. They're concerned maybe about it. Maybe I should be a little more like concerned or alert about the situation. Years ago, about 11 years ago, Chile had the big earthquake. And before the earthquake happened, there was like these swarm of earthquakes that were happening. Like every day you would feel them kind of thing. Not earthquakes, excuse me, tremors. They were feeling it consistently, you know, before like the big one happened. So I think that's why people are alert, you know, what's going on. I heard a post on Facebook, I think I told you about it, that some guy was complaining. This was inspired by a lot of Facebook posts, this video. Another one from a Chilean like expat group or something. And someone's like, where can I get real like good cheese or whatever? Like the Chilean cheese is not cutting it for me. It's not that good. I was dumbfounded, honestly, because I'm like, this is great cheese. This is some good stuff. I did not know what he was talking about.
Maybe.
I could not relate to his struggle there.
Maybe.
My favorite cheese, queso del sur, they say? Basically cheese from the south of Chile. It's so good. It's so fresh, creamy, a bit like almost salty, sour to it. And when you melt it like in a pan, like heat it up and you melt it and then you put it in eggs or you eat it in with bread. Oh my god. Okay, so that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed this what I eat in a day while living abroad. I also hope you enjoyed having once with us, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Now I'm gonna finish my keke and my tea. Ciao! It's that tea that I had in La Serena. It's not that good.